Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is snowy, it is cold, it is Thursday, December 11th, and we have a big show for you today. We're broadcasting from the Joy Virtual Studio. I see all of you on the live chat. Thank you to Inez Andy Cyrus for producing the Shannon Joy Show today. And of course, thank you to our sponsors. You're going to hear from the satellite phone store. That's sat123.com/joy. You're also going to hear from our friends over at Rocket Dollar, PCM and Associates. And of course, you know, we have a ton to get to today. And I'm glad that I decided I was going to cover this story yesterday, but I'm glad we covered Fuentes yesterday and decided to cover the New York Times story detailing the coordinated effort behind the scenes by the Donald Trump administration and allies close to the Donald Trump administration to use diplomatic pressure on Romanian officials to release the Tate brothers, the accused pimps, child sex traffickers, rapists, abusers, money launderers, under indictment on multiple counts in Romania and the UK. Now, this happened, it was extraordinary. We covered that story here on the Shannon Joy Show in January of 2025. Very difficult to get this story covered by left-wing news media outlets or right-wing news media outlets. A story just dropped yesterday in the New York Times. Very, very well done. I understand. I'm a longtime critic of the New York Times for their left-leaning bias, but occasionally they do some really good reporting. And this report, how a manosphere star and a darling of the conservative Christian right, I added that, accused of rape and trafficking, was freed. Barred from leaving Romania, Andrew Tate courted powerful figures on the American right, from Tucker Carlson to Barron Trump. Then an extraordinary order by Donald Trump let him go. Now, we speculated this in January of 25 when this happened. Maybe it was February of 25 when this went down. But there were so few reporters looking into this, and the Republican conservative Christian right had no interest in this whatsoever. In fact, the Republican conservative Christian right, led by Tucker Carlson and people like Candace Owens, continued to launder the character of the Tate brothers, protecting them, running what essentially became a massive protection racket to cover up the crimes and the character and launder the dark character of not only Andrew Tate, but his brother Tristan Tate. They are pornographers, self-admitted pimps, very violent, and we have video today to remind everyone of just how violent these men were. What was extraordinary about this story, which I've been reporting on here on the Shannon Joy Show for 2 years, many have been reporting for much longer. In fact, Annie Cyrus, the producer of the Shannon Joy Show, has been reporting on the Tate brothers since 2015, back when they were professing Christians. When Andrew Tate claimed to be a good Christian, it was before he converted to Islam because, well, you're permitted to rape your wife under the religion of Islam. You're permitted to beat your wife under the religion of Islam. It's why Andrew Tate moved from the United Kingdom, where he first set up his pimping shop, to Romania, where he claimed on Twitter at the Milk Bar TV, and his viral videos were absolutely critical in chronicling the character. Okay. Laundering the care, or he was very critical. Sorry, I just had Annie in my ear there for a minute. Does everyone have the feed here? We froze, just cut out, just a minute, and we're good. So Nathan Livingstone, under the handle at the Milk Bar TV on Twitter, was instrumental in creating viral videos capturing the real character of the Tate brothers, primarily Andrew Tate. Horrifying, violent, vicious. Even if he wasn't indicted on any of these charges in multiple countries, even if he wasn't being investigated in the United States, these videos alone should have been enough for every so-called conservative Christian commentator to keep enough justification for them to keep away from Andrew Tate and not platform this guy, because he's vile. He's a woman abuser. He's a groomer, right? But a lot of what seemed to happen over the past 2 years was a grooming operation. I feel like people like Candace Owens, claiming to be a Christ as King Christian, and Russell Brand, also claiming to be a Christ as King Christian, and also Tucker Carlson, a self-proclaiming Christian, a family man. Just the videos alone that were pushed out by Nathan Livingstone under his handle should have been enough to keep them from platforming these vile, vile characters, but they did. They did anyway. And in essence, whether they knew it or not, they groomed their audiences little by little over time to accept and normalize people like Andrew Tate. It's interesting that this just happened a couple of weeks ago with the platforming of Nick Fuentes, another grooming operation, a character laundering operation. People who conservative Christians trust for news and information, who have a lot of truth, who speak a lot of truths, who align with a lot of my values and a lot of your values, every so often will slip in a degenerate, a vile character, an evil person like Andrew or Tristan Tate, and acclimate their audiences to them as legitimate voices that are impacting the youth of America and helping to influence and, help young American males. They're platformed as heroes on the right, even though they say some bad things. Well, they're telling the truth over here. And it is a slow process, drip, 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 of acclimating the conservative right to accept vile, vile things. And we've seen that with Donald Trump as well, acclimating the conservative Christian right to left-wing, progressive, liberal, quasi-fascist, techno-fascist policies and ideologies. And I think that is the lesson here today, because it wasn't the left that the Tates were acclimated to. It was the right, and it was the Christian right, where the worst of the worst of the worst are now residing. In my opinion, the protection racket around the Tate brothers is massive, extensive, and reaches all the way up to the Trump White House. It also likely involves intelligence agencies, because there certainly is a campaign around the Tate brothers to not only protect them and keep them in operation, but also launder them, their character and their positions, to an unsuspecting conservative right through messengers and portals like the Tucker Carlson Show, Candace Owens, Russell Brand, and other outlets. We have to be very careful and very discerning about the people who we call sources. And the Tate litmus test is one that I have used over the past 2 years. Any conservative Christian outlet, influencer, or commentator that will stand behind and lie for the Tate brothers, or deceive their audiences about the Tate brothers, or platform the Tate brothers, is omitted from my list of trusted sources. And it's why Candace Owens is not a trusted source for the Shannon Joy Show, because up until yesterday, she continues to lie for the Tate brothers. She's had them on her show multiple times. Tucker Carlson, on the other hand, has only had them on his show once, and he hasn't said anything about it, but he is now admitting to misrepresenting the Tate brothers and the nature of their alleged crimes. And he has, in a statement to the New York Times, apologized for any role that he had in that, but still standing by the interview, saying, and I'll quote it when we get to this piece, that, he's still, the interview was still valid because Andrew Tate reaches millions of young men, yada, yada, yada. So this is a huge story. And in this piece by the New York Times, they lay out exactly how this happened. The protection from the Trump administration and the psychological operation that we're seeing being deployed in right-wing conservative media to recreate the Tate brothers in the same way that they're recreating Nick Fuentes really strongly suggests to me that intelligence is involved in this in some way with the Tate brothers. There is a protection racket. And that would lead me to believe a statement that I made on Twitter and a statement that I made to you many, many years ago. This reminds me of Jeffrey Epstein. The Tates remind me of Jeffrey Epstein. The cover-up reminds me of Jeffrey Epstein. The power centers on the left and the right protecting the Tate brothers reminds me of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And that makes you wonder whether or not Andrew Tate was being groomed or they wanted him to replace Jeffrey Epstein in the network that was so crucial to launder dark money, to traffic in weapons and drugs, and also in the business of pimping human beings and young girls, passing out young women to influential diplomats and influential political leaders, not only in the US, but around the world. Was this why Donald Trump wanted Andrew and Tristan Tate to meet him at Mar-a-Lago? Is this why Donald Trump brought them over, placing diplomatic pressure on Romanian officials, only to be met on the tarmac by a grinning Roger Stone, smoking a cigar, handing them cigars, ready to install them in a high-priced condo within walking distance of Mar-a-Lago? Did they want to restart the blackmail business, the coercion business, and that racket and expand it? We haven't had anyone to fill Jeffrey Epstein's shoes now that that scandal has been blown open. Were they preparing to move someone else in and take their spot? That's just speculation on my part. I haven't heard anyone else in mainstream media, not even the New York Times, speculate that. But there are so many similarities. And this is why I have continued to report on this story for the past 2 years, because there were so many similarities to what we were seeing in terms of the cover-up and the laundering of character of the character of Jeffrey Epstein. Also, the long-standing relationship between Epstein and Donald Trump now being rekindled in a new relationship that was fostered by Donald Trump Jr. and Barron Trump and people like Mike Cernovich, who we have reported on the Shannon Joy Show for the past 2 years. What do you all think about all of this? Have you had a chance to look at the New York Times story? I've linked it in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, and we're going to get into some of that as we move forward. But first and foremost, I would like to remind all of you of who the Tates are. And this was my first clue. Thank you to Milk Bar TV, or the Milk Bar TV, Nathan Livingstone, for putting together these compilation videos. And I highly recommend that all of you watch those videos, follow Nathan on Twitter, and support his efforts. He's an independent investigative journalist and news aggregator and producer of really very compelling short videos. And he is also calling out Tucker Carlson on the way we're going to give you an example of exactly how Tucker Carlson laundered and lied for Andrew Tate in the interview, deceived his audience. And again, Carlson has admitted to that in his statement in the New York Times. And this is why Tucker Carlson yesterday released the tweets that released the messages that he had with one Megan Twohey and, regarding the release of this story. He was very snarky and dismissive, but he did say, this is the quote from the New York Times story: "If I misstated their indictment or got the facts wrong, I sincerely apologize." That's what Tucker Carlson had to say. He also said, "It doesn't change my view that the Tates, whatever their personal behavior, had a message worth hearing." A message worth hearing. That's the official statement from Tucker Carlson. So, in asking him about this interview that he conducted almost 2 years ago, Tucker Carlson said this: "If I misstated their indictment or got the facts wrong, I sincerely apologize." Tucker Carlson then added, "It doesn't change my view that the Tates, whatever their personal behavior, had a message worth hearing." Well, let's take a look at the personal behavior of Andrew Tate. This is a video that was created by Nathan Livingstone almost 2 years ago. A very compelling short video, just very simply detailing the character of Andrew Tate, the man that Tucker Carlson knew about, yet decided to platform to his audience and then mislead his audience about the nature of the criminal investigation that Tate was facing. Let's take a look at that video now. It's graphic.
You know what they didn't teach you in self-defense? Here's a little move. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what you're doing? Your face is collapsed and your cheekbone's broken. You ain't gonna do cry.
I guarantee I changed the way you look at sex forever. You're gonna be crying. I won't cry. I bet you cry. I bet you cry. You're saying I wouldn't cry. You're challenging me to a fight. You're saying I can't hurt you. You're out of your mind? I don't even you. Forget the sex part. That's a distraction. My stay in my pants. I'll just start beating at you. How about that? We walk in the bedroom. I start kicking your no sex. No sex involved. But you cry then.
I perfected this in pimp school. When I got my PhD, we had to practice if a girl comes at you. You cheater, you cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. But her panties get wet. The machete's on the floor, her panties are all wet. You go her. That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. These are the basic moves of pimping.
There you go. All right, guys, we are back. Really interesting. After that video, Annie's system completely crashed, shut down. And yeah, we got not really a stumble. I think we're good. She brought me back up so I can see you. The live chat is working. The feed is up. But that video is absolutely horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. And when Tucker Carlson says that he stands by the interview, he thinks that Andrew Tate has a message worth hearing. So the video that you just saw from that vile, degenerate, evil, predatory monster, that is the character that Tucker Carlson thought would be so important, has such an important message. What message does Andrew Tate convey to young boys? What message does Andrew Tate convey to young girls? What message is so worthwhile and important that Tucker Carlson feels the necessity to fly to Romania and interview and lie about the nature of the indictments and the charges that Andrew Tate was facing? And never apologize for it. Now, he did say, I apologize for misleading my audience. If I misled my audience, if I misstated their indictment or got the facts wrong, I sincerely apologize. But that's it. And then yesterday, Tucker Carlson tweets out correspondence between himself and Megan Twohey, the journalist who put together this report in New York Times, and mocked her. He mocked her. This is what she wrote to Tucker Carlson. Hey, Tucker, Megan here again. My story on the release of the Tate brothers from Romania will finally run this week. I found that it was the culmination of years-long efforts by Andrew, with help, I believe, to form alliances with powerful figures on the American right. And she detailed that effort. She said, as I said in our last phone call, the story will point out your interview with Andrew in Romania in 2023, which I believe was a critical turning point in the laundering of the character of Andrew Tate. Because after Tucker Carlson ran that interview with Andrew Tate, it opened the door to other conservative media outlets inviting him on their shows and defending him, right? So Tucker was the lead groomer, whether he knows it or not. He was pitched to interview Andrew Tate by his producers and agreed to do it because an associate said that it would break the internet. And it did. It garnered over 100 million views. That broke down the barriers and opened the floodgates for the conservative Christian right to accept Andrew Tate as a legitimate source on the right. And unbelievable. She said, James McBride, who represents the Tate, said he pitched you on the interview, which he said would break the internet. The interview has drawn more than 112 million interviews. That's why Tucker Carlson is drawing scrutiny right now. She said, you spent much of this interview with Andrew discussing your shared beliefs. You saw the video that I just played about Andrew Tate's beliefs, where he glorifies beating and raping, psychologically manipulating, humiliating, shaming women, forcing them to work for him. And this story, this New York Times story, goes into detail. They have text messages, screenshots of text messages. They reviewed, I mean, this piece, by the way, it features interviews with dozens of people in Romania, in the United States, and Britain, as well as a review of hundreds of pages of court documents and private messages. And it offers the fullest account yet of how the Tates rose from a fringe corner of the internet. They were nobodies until Elon Musk platformed them on Twitter, giving them their account back and also working out a lucrative deal with Andrew Tate to promote him on Twitter. How they rose from a fringe corner of the internet to become a cause celeb on the right. The brothers' release from Romania was the culmination of a years-long effort by Andrew Tate and others to forge alliances with Mr. Trump's advisors and family members. And now people that Trump are in the Trump administration. She went on in this correspondence with Tucker Carlson. This is from the journalist who wrote the New York Times story. You spent much of the interview with Andrew discussing your shared beliefs, including what you see as the left-wing war on masculinity. But you didn't press Andrew on his porn operation. He was a longtime self-admitted pimp and pornographer. There are hundreds of hours of videos of Andrew Tate explaining just exactly how he manipulated and pimped and humiliated and forced women into working for him, doing pornography on his various platforms. There are, again, hundreds of hours of video. Thank you, Nathan Livingstone at the Milk Bar TV, for putting them together. So you didn't press Andrew on his porn operation or previous comments about exploiting women. You misrepresented the criminal allegations in Romania, saying they involved no sex crimes or violence, and that the trafficking charges boiled down to the lover boy method. She said, you said that's not actually human trafficking. Yes, it is. You said, I don't care what you call it. You weren't, this is what Tucker said. You weren't buying. I don't care what you call it. You weren't buying, even accused of buying and selling anyone. When I asked recently about the interview, you said on record, if I misstated their indictment or got the facts wrong, I sincerely apologize. That's Tucker Carlson. Then he said, it doesn't change my view that the Tates, whoever their personal behavior whatever their personal behavior, had a message worth hearing. Please let me know if any of this is incorrect or if you have any other on the record comments. And he mocked her yesterday. Megan, you have part of the story, but not all of it. In fact, Tate's plan was to recruit an entire sleeper cell of ideologically aligned podcasters to subvert American society with his radical views on the patriarchy, creatine, and the war on Gaza. Tucker is such a liar. He is such a liar. He's like, I was only one of many, but you were the first and the biggest and the most deceptive. And you call yourself a conservative Christian, Tucker. He goes, as you can see, the effort is now bearing its dangerous fruit. I assume at some point, Tate's so-called Operation High T will be the subject of a DOJ investigation. In fact, there are multiple investigations by the State Department that they uncovered in this New York Times story that are looking into the Tate brothers. Dozens and dozens of indictments and charges, almost 100 victims, known victims, civil cases, criminal cases in Romania and in the UK, none of which Tucker Carlson talked about with his audience. And he's not talking about it here. So Tucker's doubling down on this in this message. He's coming back at her. He said, in the meantime, I want to thank you for your important work. I hope you will quote me, best Tucker. Well, Andrew Tate retweeted this. And Tristan Tate retweeted this. And Candace Owens retweeted this. Let's roll the tape again, Annie, about the character of the man that Tucker believes is so important that he needs to not only platform him, lie about the charges, but then double and triple down on it and mock the story. I'm sorry, it is triple X rated, but we're going to run it again so that no one forgets who Tucker Carlson is continuing now doubling down on in this statement from the with the reporter on what he did a couple years ago. Andy, let's run it again.
Tell me you love me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you mean it. You message one other guy ever again, whether we're together or not together. You understand me? Do you understand me? Say it then. Say I understand. Say it like you Say it again. Say I understand.
My friend, take a look.
Show everyone how pretty you are. Get on your knees and show everyone how pretty you are. Look at the camera. Show everyone how pretty you are. Show the camera your tattoo. What does it say?
Tate.
Why does it say Tate?
Because I'm his whore.
You are my whore.
Yes.
Get my pimp stick. Which you're gonna kiss. My whore. Why's your ass got a bruise on it?
Because my daddy hits me.
He hits you?
Yes.
So why would he hit you?
You know what they didn't teach you in self-defense? Here's a little move. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what you're doing? Your face is collapsed and your cheekbone's broken. You ain't gonna do cry.
I guarantee I changed the way you look at sex forever. You're gonna be crying. I won't cry. I bet you cry. I bet you cry. You're saying I wouldn't cry. You're challenging me to a fight. You're saying I can't hurt you. You're out of your mind? I don't even you. Forget the sex part. That's a distraction. My stay in my pants. I'll just start beating at you. How about that? We walk in the bedroom. I start kicking your no sex. No sex involved. But you cry then.
I perfected this in pimp school. When I got my PhD, we had to practice if a girl comes at you, you cheater, you're cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. Like, so her panties get wet. The machete's on the floor, her panties are all wet, and you go her. That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. These are the basic moves.
Welcome back, everyone. And yeah, I apologize for having to run those tapes, but apparently no one on the conservative right, no one within the Republican Party, none of the Christian pastors, none of the Christian commentators, no one like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Benny Johnson, Fox News, no one will present this man to their audiences in a truthful way. So apparently I'm the one who has to do it. And if you want to critique me for running this on my show, I don't want to look at this, I don't want to see this, Shannon. Well, maybe you should know about the character of the people who are being pimped to you by people like Tucker Carlson. Self-proclaiming conservative Christians. People like Candace Owens, Christ is King Christians, people like Alex Jones, people like Elon Musk, people like Donald Trump. They are getting behind these people. They are battening down the hatches, and they are working in the back end to not only launder his character, but protect him from facing dozens of charges of trafficking, sex trafficking, rape of a minor, abuse, you name it. Both Tristan and Andrew. Horrifying. Horrifying. We're going to continue to cover this story. I appreciate the work of Megan Twohey and Isabella Kwai. The piece is How a Manosphere Star Accused of Rape and Trafficking Was Freed. There is much more here in this story, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. We're going to do a Hey Fam town hall on the Shannon Joy Show tomorrow. I'll give you details on that on Twitter as we move through the show. But we are going to continue to cover this story. It's very important, and there's a lot more. When you hear about how they worked on the back end, the Trump administration, to free these guys, it will turn your stomach. But we do have to move to other topics. We have an amazing guest. You guys love Sasha Latypova, and there is big news in the medical freedom front, a huge petition. We are seeing wins in terms of truth about the COVID-19 shots and the fraud that was committed in the rollout of Operation Warp Speed. And Sasha's going to be here to tell us about a Twitter or a petition that she has collaborated on with Children's Health Defense. So we're going to get an update from her. Want to see what you have to say about this issue on the live chat, and maybe we'll get back to some questions in a moment. Be very careful about the voices that you use for truth and for news and information and for influence today. There are very, very dark people, and what we have seen now with their relationship to Andrew and Tristan Tate is frankly horrifying. So be careful out there. Use discernment and find those sources that you can trust, because things are going to get even crazier in 2006 and 27. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Sasha Latypova join us here on the Shannon Joy Show. Keep it tuned. And Mary and I came together trying to figure out, how we're going to do this show. They were there for us with sponsorship that helped us to put this together and get it on the air. So we are super, super thankful for them. And they have a great new product. I don't know if you guys have ever been struggling, or if you are struggling with mood swings, low energy, or hormonal imbalances. Venus and Mars are two great new products from the wellness company. They're doctor-formulated nutraceuticals designed to restore balance, energy, and vitality without synthetic hormones or stimulants. Ladies, Venus supports estrogen and progesterone balance. It eases PMS and cramping while also boosting your energy with clinically dosed ingredients like DIM, maca, Vitex, and broccoli sprouts. There is no fluff and no filler in this product. Now for the fellas, Mars has a product that naturally increases your testosterone, enhances circulation, and improves strength and focus with tongatali, tribulus, horny goat weed, and zinc. And every ingredient is present in a meaningful and safe dose. There are no gimmicks, just clean daily hormone support for both men and women. And I hear it also helps a little bit in the bedroom as well, but we won't go there. If you are a couple looking for a boost, Venus and Mars will have you feeling like you are on another planet. Head to twchealth.com/Mary and use the promo code MARY to get 10% off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Mary and use the promo code MARY, MARY, to get 10% off plus free shipping. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. We are pivoting, but we are not going to let go of this story. There is so much in that New York Times piece, and I'm going to be going over it with a fine-tooth comb with all of you, with videos provided by the Milk Bar TV, Nathan Livingstone, over the next couple weeks. This is a big story. It has so many tentacles, and it is very impactful and very important in understanding how deceptive not only the left-wing news media is, but right-wing news media and also the Christian evangelical right. Fascinating that it's the New York Times that puts this out, right? But the New York Times, a broken clock is right twice a day, they like to say. And while, it's a left-wing news outlet, every so often they get something right. I'm appreciative of that reporting. So we're going to continue. We're not going to let this story go. And you guys will come here for the truth. But meanwhile, we have Sasha Latypova joining us here in the Joy virtual studio, patiently waiting as I ranted and raved about my irritation.
No, it's good. I was like, yeah, go, Shannon.
Okay. I mean that we have to wait for the New York Times to a left-wing news outlet to bring us the truth about the elaborate, layered, sophisticated operation to save the Tate brothers and acclimate them to conservative. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And Tucker mocking it, I mean, that just really set me off. That really set me off. So, we're going to keep an eye on. No, it was a DOD operation. It was the military. No, it was a DOD operation. It was the military. And that was put in place in 2020. And it's still in place today because we're still under the emergency declaration that was issued by not only the former HHS administration under Trump, then Biden, but now also being continued by the current HHS administration under Bobby Kennedy Jr. Very important voice of clarity. She is independent. You can follow her at Due Diligence and Art on Substack. And you have a lot going on, Sasha. Big bombshell. Hundreds of thousands, you said, comments. Now here's the headline from Children's Health Defense. They're asking the FDA to revoke COVID vaccine licenses, calls on public to submit hundreds of thousands of comments they have in the span of 2 days. And this petition is based on the research, the critical research of pharmaceutical medical device industry veteran Sasha Latypova with us today. And it's asking the FDA Commissioner Marty A. Makary to determine that the two mRNA vaccines, Comirnaty and Spikevax, are misbranded and adulterated. This could open up floodgates. Let's hear about this first, and then we'll talk about other areas within medical, the genre of medical freedom, because there's a lot going on, and I haven't done a show on this in a while. So thank you for being with us, Sasha. Appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And yes, this is the topic I wanted to discuss today, to focus more on this topic. And this may be somewhat more familiar to your audience than others. But over years, we've discussed the status of EUA countermeasures that these vaccines went on the market as under PrEP Act Declaration of Emergency, which is still extended. The HHS and FDA can simply make a bunch of bureaucratic announcements and determinations and put products on the market without any consumer safeguards that are expected by the consumers. We have extensive law in the US, generally summed up as CGXP, or good manufacturing practices, good laboratory practices, good distribution practices, and so forth, everything related to drugs and food in consumer supply. And so during a declared public health emergency, all of that law becomes irrelevant and suspended. And consumers have no idea about it. Nobody was told this. I didn't know this. Even being a professional, it took me several years to uncover what exactly they are doing and how they're getting away with this crime, essentially. The FDA was founded because the justification of that agency was to safeguard consumer supply of food and pharmaceuticals in the US and regulate interstate commerce in those products. And the justification was because we want accurate labeling and we want to prevent misbranding and adulteration. Misbranding meaning calling something that it's not on the label, or making claims that are unfounded scientifically on the label. And adulteration is not having the correct ingredients, or having wrong things in it, or things that are not supposed to be there, potential toxic poisonous substances in the vials due to accidental or intentional adulteration. And so that whole justification for the FDA and the whole body of law that exists to safeguard this automatically gets suspended on a say-so of HHS secretary. HHS
Yep.
secretary makes determination that he thinks that there is an emergency of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons. This is what PrEP Act is designed for seaborne attacks. So he makes a determination that we're under attack or we are under a potential attack with a seaborne weapon and issues this declaration, which is what they did in 2020 for COVID. And today, it's absurd to believe that we have an emergency of COVID in this country.
Right.
Yet this declaration remains in place. And the sole reason why it remains in place is to provide thorough liability shield for Pfizer, Moderna, and other producers of COVID products. It's not just the vaccines, it's everything. And thorough liability shield to the entire healthcare system that delivers all of that stuff. In fact, in the most recent declaration issued by Javier Becerra, outgoing HHS secretary, they've expanded it to include flu shots, for example.
Wow.
People don't know this. And to include as covered person who receives that liability shield from the government, everyone who can possibly be near a patient in a healthcare system, including not just doctors, but also pharmacists, pharmacy assistants, physician assistants, nurses, nurse assistants, unlicensed students too. So this now has morphed into we're just going to turn off litigation, turn off any ability of citizens to hold people who are performing malpractice on them liable. We're just going to turn it off completely through this method of expanding this PrEP Act declaration to infinity. So that's what and our petition says, hey, let's start rolling this back, because first thing, these products should be deemed adulterated and misbranded, and we list dozens of pieces of evidence that has been accumulated, and this is primarily my research into the regulatory fraud. Essentially, if you're claiming this is a BLA, then it should be deemed regulatory fraud. What Pfizer and Moderna did. And so we're outlining all that evidence, and we're saying, FDA, you should determine these things misbranded and adulterated, and you should revoke the BLA licenses as you have full enforcement power, including up to violence. FDA can send tanks and helicopters to burn down your farm if you're selling raw milk and they don't like it, yet here they sit powerless. And, Marty McCary is sitting on his hands and saying, well, I can't do anything because, reasons. So we're saying, no, you can. You have the power. You can find them misbranded and you can revoke those licenses. Or alternatively, if these things are EUA countermeasures and you don't have that power, then, you can properly label them as EUA countermeasures. And then inform the people that they have no rights with respect to these products.
Oh, two choices there, right? Tell them the truth, pull these off the market, or tell them the truth about the fact that they are countermeasures, which are military. It's military designated bioweapons, essentially.
Yes.
Right. So let's slow down a little bit because there's a lot there. By the way, recap, this is a big story. You said 200,000 already or hundreds of thousands of.
Yes. So the petition has been there for 2 days. We already received, and I'm so thankful to all of the followers and subscribers who commented.
Yeah.
We already received, as of last midnight, 100,900 comments, and this is on delay because they actually the system has to review the comments before they publish them.
Wow.
So we are expecting a groundswell. This is unprecedented, and no other petition of CHD is telling me that no other petition was so fast, so many comments, and we're so excited about it.
Yeah.
Yes. And we ask people to please continue sharing, please continue. The good thing about this is a formal process. It's not like a political petition. It's not just, sign, provide your signature. The FDA has 180 days to respond to us, but they also must review all the public comments. And the public comment section there is good because you can put up to 5,000 words.
Wow.
attach up to 200 megabytes of attachments.
Wow.
We're asking people, this is a place for you to provide your story of injury, your story of death of a loved one, of a child, a loss of job, anything related to this, or even submit your own research and analysis that you've done on the data or some relevant documents. And so that should push the HHS and put pressure on them to do the right thing.
Yes. And so this is from the piece, which is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, which you can link to sign this petition or comment on this petition and tell your story. So this is essentially an airing of grievances for every single person who was harmed in any way in the dark days of 2020, 21, 22, with the rollout of the shots. By the countermeasures that were put in place. Does this include vaccines, vaccination, masking, loss of school? Does it include the horrifying torment and torture that was experienced by hundreds of thousands of elderly people in nursing homes, the torment and torture of families who couldn't see their loved ones when they were suffocated to death on ventilators and given remdesivir, the COVID kill protocol that destroyed the lives of so many in those dark days since the lockdowns? Is it all of it, Sasha, or just the shot?
We're petition is focused on mRNA vaccine, they call them platforms. So that's our focus. However, we're encouraging people to write anything you think is related to it.
Okay.
Including the stories with the COVID hospital protocols, because all of them are countermeasures. All of these products have the same issue as what we're discussing with mRNA. mRNA is the most glaring one because it's the platform that was never going to get approved under normal regulations. They tried for 20 years, they failed because it's super toxic, it kills people. So with full knowledge of what it does to human body, they decided to pull this hoax of a pandemic and invoke all these emergency military laws in order to push these platforms on the market. And now they call them fully approved. And that's the key of the deception. This is what we call the magic leap. They never complied with BLA standards because they went on the market as an EUA countermeasure. And then in 2021, Peter Marks simply relabeled them. So that's what's called mislabeling. So he mislabeled them and said, now they're fully BLA approved because I say so. Well, guess what? He doesn't get to make the law. FDA doesn't get to make the law. There is the law in the US, and it's very clear. What they have done in 21 is mislabeling, misbranding, and pushing on the market dangerous, adulterated products. And so we are asking them to do the right thing, correct their actions. And in fact, if they don't do it, the CHD reserves the right to sue them.
Absolutely. The story, CHD asked the FDA to revoke the COVID vaccine licenses. They filed what is known as a citizen petition with the FDA. This is based on Sasha Latypova's exhaustive work, along with researchers. Exhausted and exhaustive, along with Catherine Watt and Debbie Lerman and the folks over at CHD. They've done a lot of work together. This is an amazing partnership, an amazing collaboration. I'm so thrilled. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to be your friend and to work with you on these things, Sasha. I mean, girl, we've been in the foxhole together for about 3.5, 4 years on this. And it's astonishing. It's even getting some play on left wing as well. You were quoted. Well, I'll ask you about that in a moment, but just so you guys understand here, this petition, the citizen petition, is a formal request by to the agency, is FDA, to take regulatory action. Citizen petitions are typically submitted by an organization, and they require extensive documentation of the issue and the legal basis for the claim. So this is not your grandma's petition. You're not going to the website and putting this is something that you can also participate in. They're asking for public comment on this petition, and we are linking it in the live chat. It's also linked up in the show notes as well. this is making its way into mainstream. Did the New York Times reach out on this, or is there any covering of this petition? I think they asked you for a statement, Sasha, which is huge. I mean, what would you say to normies on the left? What would you say? I mean, this is beginning to permeate into the culture at large, which is a huge victory. But tell me about that, how we're beginning to get some play from left-leaning news outlets as well.
Yeah, so interestingly, yes, New York Times reached out. I did talk to a reporter there, provided a quote. I don't know if they will publish or when they will publish, but they did reach out. So and good. They were frankly polite. It did not look like a hit piece. And I've been approached before. For example, journal Nature approached me with obvious attempt at writing a hit piece, and I generally give a very different response in that case. But in this case, kudos to New York Times. They were very polite. They were interested in the right kind of information. They asked good questions. It seems that they have reviewed my previous materials and understood what I was saying. And so, we'll see. Let's see what they put out, or if they put out. But that's a good sign, because they understand that there is this issue, and somehow it will become very key in midterms. And I'm not, I don't have any like rosy glasses about New York Times. Obviously, this is all political. But hey, if they are willing to speak about the right issues and make our voices heard, well, all the power to them.
Hey, I mean, I spent the first 45 minutes of my show using the New York Times reporting on the Tate brothers and their connections to the Trump administration. Extraordinary, right? That we now have to go to left-wing news outlets to get some semblance of truth. It's because everything has become so political. But this is also very, very, again, this petition has garnered almost 200,000 comments in 2 days, which is extraordinary. It's a collaboration between Sasha Latypova and Children's Health Defense, longtime allies of Bobby Kennedy Jr., who is now working at the pleasure of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Sasha, this is extraordinary. You've worked closely with Mary Holland, the president of Children's Health Defense. Mary Holland has been a long-time supporter of Bobby Kennedy, but this is going squarely at Bobby Kennedy's FDA. I mean, this is going squarely at that organization, CHD reserving the right to sue them if they do not comply with responding to this petition. What do you make of that? I mean, that makes this all the more extraordinary. How did this collaboration come together? And where do you think it's going to go?
Well, yeah, so this is actually not the first time. They already sued Bobby Kennedy and won. So that was the fastest legal victory. Ray Flores filed a lawsuit to reconstitute the Vaccine Safety Task Force at the HHS. And so that was complied with pretty quickly, within a month, I think. So it's not the first time that they actually, sort of using the adversarial system to communicate with HHS. Now here it's not adversarial. A petition is a petition. As citizens, we have the right to petition the government. We're just asking them to correct their actions and pointing to what's wrong. But they are serious. Yes, I started. Well, I've known Mary for quite some time now. We've interacted many times in many forums, and we did have a discussion about this. I was urging HHS, if we understand the constraints of the Trump administration, let's say Trump is very pro mRNA platform. Well, understanding those constraints, I was advising and urging people to push for disclosure. Okay, you can have a political agenda of administration, and they, by the way, change over time. So, but you are not allowed to lie to the public. So all we're asking is be truthful, either revoke those licenses or properly change them to the correct status of the shots, and explain to people what that means. Explain to people what countermeasures mean. They never did. They lied about it throughout.
They certainly did. And, I think that this is proof, and I'm really glad that CHD is doing this. I'm really glad that they are pursuing this. You and I, along with Mary Talley Bowden and Naomi Wolf and Dr. Peter McCullough, I mean, we've come out under a lot of scrutiny and attack. Bob Malone calling us a hate group at one point and blocking us all from within the administration. Everyone telling us to, be quiet, give them time, play nice, try for access. You know what I mean? Like handle them with kid gloves. And at one point, we came to the determination that you can't play nice in all of this. Now, I'm not saying that you call them names or anything, but you got to play hardball with these people. If you don't think that pharma isn't playing hardball with these people, you don't think that the military and the medical industrial complex, the people behind the scenes in all of this aren't playing hardball with our politicians. You think they're waiting for them to ask and asking politely for them to do the thing? Hell no. Like we got to go out there, and these are the bold actions that I've been waiting for. And so I thank you for your voice. It's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for DOD affiliated Robert Malone to explain to everyone what countermeasures are. And has he done that? No.
He is not.
No.
So
he's the expert. He's the expert. He worked with DOD all his life.
That's right. You guys can be, this is really important. This is an important one. This piece, the piece to the CHD report on this, which will feature links to the petition where you guys can get involved. You can tell your story, 5,000 words. And you can attach documents. If you have research, studies, I mean, this is where Tom Haviland needs to go with his information on the white fibrous clots. This is where John Bodewin, with all of his information, the data that he has collected from multiple states, the death records, coroner's reports, detailing, the extraordinary rise in sudden death. Like this is where that information can be housed and essentially kind of on the record within the government archives. It's so important. Any of the horror stories that you experience. Can I make a comment about how I was arrested at a school board meeting?
Yes.
For my mask falling beneath my nose? Because as we know, masking was a countermeasure. Because as we know, the deployment of all of these protocols were military operations from day one. They've been lying to us about that. So I can send my story over there, Sasha?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
We encourage stories like this. The government lied to us. They sent police to enforce masking and never bothered to explain to the public that these are countermeasures.
They also sent police to my house to intimidate my children, to enforce a quarantine order on my 12-year-old daughter. No, she was 13-year-old at the time. 13 years old. They came to my house on a Saturday, terrified my children, banging on the door, 2 contact tracers, 2 armed officers, one from the New York State Police Department, the other from the Fairport Police Department. Devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy. I wasn't even home. All right. He goes out on the front porch and has like a showdown with he's yelling at them, and the neighbors are gathering, and poor Peggy, our little neighbor, was like, "What did you guys do?" And I'm like, "Nothing." It was crazy. I have all kinds of stories.
Yeah.
We're joined by Sasha Latypova. Make sure you support her over at her Substack, Due Diligence and Art. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, I have more questions for you about medical freedom and some of the stories out in the news today. There's a lot of good news, but there's some bad news as well. A medical doctor now, just an hour and a half away from me here in New York, outside of Syracuse, has been arrested. She is now charged with filing a false document or a false instrument, accused of faking vaccine cards for her daughter. She's facing now multiple years in prison. I have the story, but there are other things out here as well that I want to talk about with you, Sasha. You want to stick around for another 10 minutes or so? 15?
Yeah, great.
Okay. All right, we'll be back in a moment to continue the show right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Just want to tell you a little bit about my financial advisor. He's been with me for over 15 years, Don Polano of PCM and Associates. As you all know, my philosophy on investing is all of the above. So, you know, I'm hugely bullish on gold and silver, physical gold and silver, and also the gold and silver IRA. I also love real estate, which I can't get into right now because it's too overpriced. So that's kind of a bummer. But I also have money in the stock market, the good old traditional stock market. Now, right now, I am not in tech stocks at all whatsoever. I have very, very boring stocks and some international. And this is what I love about Don Polano is that he knows, he respects my belief system. He shares my belief system. And for what I do have in the stock market, in those investments for my retirement, he takes great care of me. He helps people all over the country and the world. And he is taking on clients, opening it up to all of you. So if you go to 1-800, if you call 1-800-536-1368, that is 1-800-536-1368. You can talk to Dom and get started. If you are unsure of the politics of your financial advisor, or if you're a little jittery about the stock market right now and you want to move some things around, he is your guy. You can also go to pcmpolano.com to learn more about him. That is pcmpolano.com. It is wonderful to have a financial analyst and advisor who shares my values, and that's Don Polano. You might want to consider checking out Rocket Dollar. Go to www.rocketdollar.com/Shannon Joy, and you can get an IRA information packet. You can start investing as soon as your account is funded. And with the self-directed IRA, you can invest in a variety of alternative assets outside of what many believe is a corrupt and bloated, inflated stock market dominated predominantly by the tech companies. So you can invest in real estate in your own backyard, right? In your own community. You can invest in private equity or a startup, even precious metals, gold and silver. They have the self-directed gold and silver backed IRAs, which is real gold and silver that is funded through your IRA. These are all ways for you to use your IRA accounts to your benefit and stop partnering with the federal government. So go to rocketdollar.com/Shannon Joy. That is rocketdollar.com/Shannon Joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Super, super pumped to see so many new commenters on the live chat right here on Rumble. If you're watching on Substack, if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, make sure to give us those comments. Annie is keeping an eye on your comments and she will post them in our correspondence. I can read some of them, but I have the live chat on Rumble up and you guys have some questions. If you have questions for Sasha Latypova about this petition, about medical freedom, about the science of bringing some of these products to market, make sure to ask them. And I do want to say hello to some of the new commenters. I will do that in just a minute. But first, LT Oracle of Truth does have a question that I want to read. And I want to do this because this is a question, Sasha, and you're one of the best to answer this question that I get all the time. And there is so much out there on the nanobots, the shots, what they injected into our bodies, and the nanobots, if they're in our bodies, interfacing with 5G, 4G. And, you know, it sounds like insane, you know, but given what they're saying about the technology out there, given what Elon Musk is saying about technology and where AI is going and how, you know, AI is going to run everything. It's going to be smarter than God, smarter than humans, the robots. I mean, we're in this kind of weird dystopian space right now where I mean, very highly platformed, influential figures are pitching, you know, this new super transhumanist robotic future. So people believe this stuff, but LT Oracle of Truth has a good question. Sasha, do you think that there are other technologies in the shot that can track you, trace and track you, or have internet connections, connect you to the internet and maybe control you? What are your thoughts on that? We'll start the questioning off there.
Well, so the last one, connection to the internet and remote control, no, technology like this does not exist, okay? And it's not possible to inject somebody with this juice that's produced so randomly you can't you know they can't even keep track of what's in it. Yeah, so that's absolutely no. Now, as far as it tracking and tracing, well, sure, we microchip our dogs,
Yeah,
so
good point. Yep.
right, and that's an injection. So yeah, that technology exists, and there's like a but it's a reader essentially, like a scanner reader, like like those cameras that read your vehicle number, ID number, right, remotely or from space or whatever. I mean, that exists.
Yeah.
But the same principle is behind. Yes, potentially through injections you can tag people somehow. I don't see evidence that that's in those vials, but I'm saying it's just in principle possible to do through injection.
Right. And we don't even have a very clear understanding, even now, of what is in those vials, what has been shipped out. We know, Sasha, that in the rollout of Operation Warp Speed and the distribution, the military operation that was the distribution of the shots, they're sent out to all of the pharmaceutical, or all the pharmacies and the hospitals. We do know that different batches, different formulations, different types of shots were sent out, perhaps even placebos. There are chances that vast swaths of Americans never even actually got the shot. They just got a placebo. We really don't know, even now, 5 years later. And so, there are certainly questions there, but it creates a lot of angst for people out there to think that, that this could potentially exist. What about graphene oxide? Do you have any thought? I see that all the time as well. People ask about graphene oxide and whether or not that could be in the vaccine. And if it is, what's the problem with that?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
As I said, because this is produced outside of any pharmaceutical law and regulation, absolutely any ingredient can be in there. As far as chemical or material like graphene oxide, it could be there. There are indications that it could get there through. There are some parts of the equipment that produces these products have graphene oxide, and they could leak from there. The evidence that some commentators were publishing about, claiming that that's proof of graphene oxide, I've reviewed all of it. None of it actually proved graphene oxide in the vials. So as far as direct evidence, I don't have any. Indirectly, I'm saying, because absolutely anything can be in those shots, it's possible that this material could be in the shots too.
Okay. I mean, very frightening. And this is why, very good news. More and more Americans, and I think this is why this CHD petition is gaining a lot of steam. I think this is why the Trump administration has indicated. I'm going to go through some of the good news items here because I have them laid out and I want to get your thoughts on them. Because of our refusal to sit down and shut up, despite being called a hate group by Bob Malone, okay, and yelled at by everyone, all right? Because we have refused to sit down and shut up and we keep organizing and activating, we are getting some really good outcomes. And here are just a few. Even though it's limited, the HHS is now coming out saying that the Hep C vaccine is no longer recommended for children and babies. It's kind of a limited win, which I talked about with Mary Talley Bowden yesterday. But you know what? It is a step forward. And in terms of optics, it's very good, right? It's creating seeds of doubt in the minds of many, many Americans, moms and dads. And that's leading to the next really good news item. More and more moms and dads aren't following the CDC recommended vaccine schedule, not just for COVID shots, but for all of them. And a Gallup poll, that came out in 24 said that the number of parents that said it was extremely important to vaccinate their children is down from 58% to 40% since 2020. And that was done in 2024, which is, this is power. This is huge. This is the culture. We had a really great Supreme Court ruling. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed a lawsuit against the New York State Departments of Health and Education that alleged they had violated the Constitution by ruling against Amish parents in New York who challenged the New York State school vaccine mandates. which do not allow religious exemptions. Then in July, lawyers, including Aaron Siri, asked the Supreme Court to hear the case, and the Supreme Court just handed down a summary disposition vacating the Second Circuit Court's dismissal. This is a huge win. This was reported by Health Freedom Defense. The Supreme Court just paved the way to restore religious vaccine exemptions in all 50 states. And it's massive. We also now have Trump signaling, whether he'll do it or not, we'll see, but signaling a review of every shot on the childhood vaccine schedule, which good optics. And then we have your petition with CHD, among other things. There's some bad news as well that I want to get to, but what are your thoughts about the state of medical freedom, given what we're seeing, and what do we need to do more of in order to continue to push this boulder up the hill so that we can hit the pinnacle and then just have it coming collapsing down, which is the goal?
Yeah, so I am particularly encouraged by the Gallup poll results, and I've seen similar results. Also, people are the normal population is questioning vaccines, and we know that it's only one way. When somebody starts looking seriously into vaccination, there is no coming back.
Yep.
They realize they have been duped for decades, for generations, and they do not come back from this discovery. So we know that it's only one way direction, and that drop in how many people saw that it was super important to vaccinate their children is staggering in that short period of time.
Yeah.
And so that's the greatest news ever. Now, the actions of HHS about reviewing hepatitis B, yes, also in the same vein, just people even looking into why it's there and why is every pregnant woman treated like a prostitute and a drug user by our healthcare system.
Right.
That should be questioned. Why is every newborn baby treated like an intravenous drug user right away from first few hours here on Earth? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And so just that question alone should be brought up to every parent, every new parent. And so that's great news. Now what ACIP did was just it's laughable. They just said, oh yeah, move this poison by 2 months. Okay, we still recommend it. Now that's not what yeah, so they're now saying and also this opens the door to testing, tracing, and bullying pregnant women even more, because they're saying if the mother tested negative, then maybe it's okay and to postpone for 2 months. That's in a nutshell what their recommendation is.
So they're saying now that the Hep C vaccine, they're still recommending the Hep C vaccine. They're just not recommending it for a brand newborn baby, but they'll shoot up your 2-month-old.
Yes, they're recommending it to 2 months old. So, but let me play through what actually is going to transpire in reality, because what everybody forgets, and I'm actually, my next research, full-blown research is going to be about this and probably come out in January.
Right.
I am looking into the financial incentives. Everybody forgets that the poisoner army, that are pediatricians, are paid to vaccinate, and also OBGYNs are paid to vaccinate. And those payments amount to very large amounts. They cannot sustain their business practices without it. And so what's going to happen now the OBGYNs are going to be the army, not at the delivery room, but a few months before, they will be catching up all these pregnant women saying, well, your baby cannot get Hep B anymore at birth. So you need to be protecting yourself and your baby now. So let's jab you with Hep B so that you have the proper titers. I'm telling you, this is exactly what's going to happen. So that's the next frontier we need to be addressing, is those types of practices, the bullying, the predatory behavior that you have covered several times, of those horror stories in the hospitals where the hospital system kidnaps the child and calls CPS on parents if they disagree with some sort of harebrained, yet another, dozen interventions we need to do on your child. So that's what we need to be focusing on that, on how to, because the system is designed to say, well, ASIP, those are just independent experts like Robert Malone, who just out of the goodness of their heart, volunteering and spending their hours and hours of work, traveling to these meetings and talking to us and providing their wisdom. But all of this is just recommendation. What do you mean? The doctor is now bullying and lying to the parents or lying to pregnant women. No, we don't do that. It's those bad people. We're just recommending. But guess what? Those recommendations go into the system that controls everybody. Every doctor is on the leash on that system. It's called, surprise, surprise, AIDS. Like AIDS like hell,
No
That's
way.
how that system is. Yes.
The HADES, the HADES system.
Yes, and
Hades?
that system, it's a collection of electronic medical records. Epic system feeds into it. All of this, it's basically, probably Palantir now has control of it. So that system is the one that tracks the metrics and decides whether you're a good doctor or you're a bad doctor, and do you deserve a bonus or you don't deserve a bonus on the vaccinations or other procedures. Not just vaccinations, it's everything, but vaccinations
Wow.
a big part of it.
Wow.
So that's how they're controlled. They're controlled literally by hell underneath that's hidden and nobody knows about, but it has leashes to all of those people to yank them when they dare not to jab a person.
There are many mechanisms of control, and pointing to pediatricians, OBGYNs, general practitioners being financially compensated or financially rewarded for meeting certain metrics in terms of the vaccination of their practices, the people or the children who are in their practices, is a huge story. The numbers are astronomical. We're not talking about a few $100s a month in a bonus. We're talking about millions of dollars. In fact, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden put out a tweet a month or two ago she calculated how much money she would have made if she had vaccinated 90% of her practice, and it was somewhere in the $1 million range, like over $1 million in her pocket. So she gave up $1 million and got hit with $250,000 in legal fees to defend herself in her practice, right? So that she could protect her patients. But multiply that by every practitioner virtually across the country. And we are looking at hundreds of millions, if not billions and billions of dollars that are being used to coerce medical doctors into coercing the people in their practices into taking these poison shots. And so what's happening at ASIP, it's getting a lot of play and a lot of coverage, and they're treating it as a win, but the mechanism is still in place. And the other way that they coerce these doctors is through sheer force, making their lives miserable. If they don't comply, if they write religious or medical exemptions, and this is very evident. I mean, they're beginning to crack down hard here in New York State, Sasha. This is the headline from Newsweek. New York doctor accused of faking her son's vaccine record to put him into school. A New York doctor has been criminally charged and accused of faking her son's vaccine record in an attempt to get him into an elementary school. Syracuse.com reported. Shireen Ishmael voluntarily surrendered to authorities on December 3rd. Her attorney, Chad Davenport, told Newsweek. Chad Davenport has been on our show, and we actually covered her story. I was shocked. I mean, she has lawsuits pending already in New York State regarding her son, and the state denying medical exemptions, multiple medical exemptions. I was shocked to see that they arrested her. We need to help this woman. She's a 49-year-old resident of DeWitt and practices at the Alexander Center for Children's Health in Manlius. It's a neighboring town. So this is horrifying. And she's facing many years she's charged with multiple felonies, and she's facing prison time.
Yeah.
For making a decision about her son. Go ahead.
Remember they went after Kirk Moore with a similar
Yes.
similar zealous prosecution for issuing, fake vaccine cards, although his was in regard to the COVID shots. But
Right.
I would encourage the attorneys to get in touch with Kirk Moore or just review his story, his case, because it is similar in many ways. And vaccines, the childhood vaccines, have a lot of similarities with countermeasures. They are actually, well, in practice, they are kind of like a countermeasures, always have been. They've never been regulated properly.
Right.
And so, maybe they can find some ways to capitalize on Kirk Moore's experience and fight this, because yeah, it's insane. It's insane what they're doing, and they're trying to make like real example of these people, treating them as these, I know Kirk Moore was facing 35 years in prison.
Yes, he was. Yes, he
Right?
was. Well, and remember, I encourage her to stand up, speak out, and be proud. I
Yes.
encourage her to say, "Hell yes, I forged that record to uphold the Hippocratic Oath," and there are all sorts of ways that this case can go, and all kinds of defenses that she can mount. But the thing that brought down the prosecutors in the Kirk Moore case was the fact that they were getting way too close to having to talk about the fact that the vaccines were countermeasures, were military countermeasures. And as soon as that happened, and it was on court record, and these statements were being made, Pam Bondi swoops in, is like, "Oh, never mind. We don't want to have that. We don't want to discuss this case anymore. We're pulling it." It wasn't because she was doing something nice for Dr. Kirk Moore.
Oh, no.
It was because when you pull the thread far enough, you always get back to the military countermeasures, and that's the big lie that they want to protect. So I'll be in contact with Chad Davenport. I'm not even clear on what they're charging her up. I think it's a false instrument or a false document. But that's insane. That's I haven't seen anything like that. So we'll keep an eye on this case. I do have a question for you. Oh, go ahead.
I'm happy to speak with them as well. So
Okay.
with their attorneys.
Yeah, that would be great. I have another question here for you from the live chat. Sasha, what is the mechanism in the shots causing the long clots, the white fibrous clots, and the microclotting, in your opinion?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I actually published an article several months ago. You can probably find it on my Substack. It's in free access, talking about potential mechanism of these white fibrous clot formation.
Yeah.
Well, there are probably numerous mechanisms, but this is one of them. This was actually founded on the paper that was published, peer-reviewed paper published by UCSF, making a lot of imaging studies and different other studies, and claiming that these spike proteins from long COVID are responsible for this formation of these clots. And I reviewed the paper, and actually it does have a lot of good analysis, like as far as the experiments, there's good setup of experiments and visualizations. So what happens is, in our body, one of the most prevalent proteins is called fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is what's in your blood plasma and in other locations as well, but primarily in blood plasma. And in response to, this is what starts clotting, like normal blood clotting. In response to, let's say you cut your finger, this will initiate wound healing response, and locally it will convert fibrinogen into fibrin, very, very fine, kind of like spider-like fibers. They're usually a single fiber. And these fibers create a mesh, and they catch blood cells, and they create the blood clot. And when the wound has healed, there is a reverse, and the body will dissolve this fibrin and convert back into the fibrinogen.
Got it.
And so this is a reversible process. Now, you can make this process irreversible if you what's called in chemistry cross-link it. And this actually is used today in surgical techniques to create wound sealants and scaffolding and things like that, is using the body's fibrinogen, cross-linking it, and creating a permanent now fibrous structure that is not dissolvable anymore.
Wow.
So what happens is, yes, there is spike protein. Now, spike protein is not attached to any virus. There's no virus. Spike protein is basically a result of the cells collapsing and dying in mass, and there's a lot of this material. It's like debris. It's debris flying from collapsed cells. They also interact with lipid nanoparticles. They actually also collapse almost immediately, and they interact with body's native cholesterol, cellular membranes, and again, they contribute. So the UCSF paper visualized the spike protein as little pieces, like, little tiny bits. And these pieces get stuck into the fibrin fibers, and they become the cross-linkers. So they
Okay.
cross-link them, and they make
Okay.
a permanent structure. And if this continues for a long time, now you have this long. Also, it's not like while conversion is, either it's a liquid or it then becomes a solid, this fibrin to fibrinogen, but it's a process. It's a kind of spectrum. So you can have a blood that's sludged and solidified a little bit and becomes much more viscous, and stays like this for a while. And it could be, these clots could be very, very long, but still in the liquid state.
Okay.
And so, but after that, when the zeta potential of the body drops below 11 millivolts,
Right.
they become solid. So
Got
that explains the phenomenon when they're saying, well, we found these, 24-inch long, or the whole leg long clot in a postmortem while I'm trying to embalm. So it's definitely inconsistent with life. Like, how is it possible that this huge thing was there and the person
Right.
was still alive? Well, that's how, because it actually was in a viscous state, and it
Got
only
it.
became solid shortly, within 5 to 15 minutes after the zeta potential goes below 11, it becomes a solid.
Wow, wow, wow. That makes a lot of sense. I do want to talk to you about zeta potential, but we only have a minute left in the show. You've done a lot of research on that as well, which I'm really interested in the health benefits of like supplementing that or
Yes.
helping that.
Yes.
So yeah, again, we only have a minute left. I'll have you on again. You're regular here on the Shannon Show.
Okay.
So, anytime Sasha is willing to come on and bestow upon us her expertise on these matters, we will take it. You're one of the best resources out there. Sasha, you are amazing. Final moments, what do you want people to do in terms of this petition? And final thoughts before I let you go.
Yeah, so again, I encourage everyone, let's continue the groundswell. We want to get to 1 million comments on this petition. We need to tell the FDA to do the right thing. So please share, please ask your friends, everyone to comment, provide public comments, submit your stories, and let's help this movement. And I will make sure that we stay honest on this, and I will report what's going on and continue collaborating with CHD.
Great, great. We have pinned the link to the government document. It's www.regulations.gov/document/FDA, blah, 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 blah. It is pinned on the live chat right here. So click on that link, share it everywhere. Anyone you know who suffered from a military countermeasure, the vaccines, the shots, the kill protocols, remdesivir, ventilators, masking, distancing, you name it. This is your chance to air your grievances. 5,000 words. You can tell your story and it goes into the record. It is documented. They have already garnered almost 200,000 comments in 2 days. This is going to be huge. Sasha Latypova, you were behind this. You have been diligent and you've suffered a lot for it. You've had a lot of haters and a lot of doubters, and you stood strong. I am so proud to be your friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This could not have been done without your amazing research. You're a champion. All right. So thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, friend.
Yes.
We'll
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is Sasha Latypova. Support her over. She's one of the most brilliant guests that we have on this show on a regular basis. Support her over on her Substack. Due Diligence and Art. You can also follow her on Twitter. So make sure you follow Sasha. We'll bring you more information on this and more. And yes, tomorrow we are going to have some updates and information on the Summit for Truth and Wellness. I think we're doing it in March. Dr. Kirk Moore, I'm sorry, not Dr. Kirk Moore. He would be great, actually. Dr. William Mackis has agreed to a date in March. And so we'll give you some information on that, among other things. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a Hey Fam town hall behind the Rumble premium membership. So you're going to have to go behind the paywall, but I'm going to start that up around 11. And we're going to say hello to all of you. And then we're going to go behind the paywall to have a family chat about the Tate story, the New York Times story, what we just talked about with Sasha Latypova, among other things. It is just for the just most amazing SJ supporters and followers. And you can get access to that exclusive content by becoming a Rumble premium member. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm going to start around 11-ish, broadcasting from home by myself, no producers, just you and me, and we're going to have a good time tomorrow. So thank you to our sponsors. Please remember our sponsors. Click on those links, put in the promo codes, let them know that we sent you because, well, this is how we keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. And without those sponsors, we can't bring you the show. So every time you patronize them, you're helping keep the show on the air. Thank you to Annie for being with us today and producing this show so brilliantly. We'll be back tomorrow to see you and do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.